Imagine a train rattling across a bridge over the Elbe River in Dresden, Germany, just minutes before the structure groans and partially collapses into the water below. It's September 2024, and the Carola Bridge, a 1970s relic, becomes a stark symbol of Germany's infrastructure crisis. No one was hurt, but the incident sent shockwaves through Europe's largest economy. Crumbling bridges, delayed trains, and patchy internet, Germany, once a model of efficiency, is grappling with decades of underinvestment. Now a new government, armed with a €500 billion plan and a call for private capital, is racing to rebuild. But can they pull it off? And will investors answer the call? Here's the story of Germany's bold gamble to save its infrastructure. Germany's infrastructure woes didn't appear overnight. For decades, the country's strict fiscal rules, known as the debt brake, Schuldenbremse, capped borrowing to keep budgets balanced. While this ensured financial discipline, it starved critical sectors like transport, energy, and digitalization. The results are stark. Bridges. The Carola Bridge collapse highlighted a broader crisis. According to Transport and Environment, thousands of Germany's 130,000 bridges, many built in the 1960s and 1970s, are in dire need of repair, requiring €100 billion. Of the 40,000 highway bridges, over 4,000 need urgent renovation, with costs estimated at €60 billion for highways alone. Railways. Deutsche Bahn, Germany's state-owned railway, is notoriously unreliable, with overcrowded trains and frequent delays. The company estimates it needs €150 billion by 2034 to modernize tracks, stations, and digital systems, including €148 billion from the new fund. A broader overhaul of 4,200 kilometers of high-performance corridors and 24,000 kilometers of other tracks is planned by 2030. Broader needs. The Cologne Institute for Economic Research reported in May 2024 that Germany requires €600 billion over 10 years to address infrastructure deficits, from roads to schools and hospitals. Education alone needs €100 to €130 billion for digitalization and building upgrades, while energy grids and waterways face similar shortfalls. The Carola Bridge collapse wasn't just a local disaster, it was a wake-up call. Our country is running on empty, warned Lars Klingbeil, co-chair of the Social Democratic Party, SPD, in March 2025. Years of prioritizing fiscal restraint over investment left Germany's infrastructure creaking, threatening its economic competitiveness. Enter Germany's new coalition government, formed after the February 2025 elections under CDU leader Friedrich Merz. Facing a collapsing SPD-led government and public outcry over infrastructure, the CDU, CSU, SPD, and Greens struck a historic deal. On March 18, 2025, the Bundestag voted 513 to 207 to amend the constitution, bypassing the debt brake to create a €500 billion, $563 billion infrastructure and climate special investment fund, effective March 22, 2025, after approval by President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. This fiscal bazooka, as economist Alexander Kruger called it, aims to transform Germany over 12 years. The fund's structure is ambitious: €100 billion for federal, states, and municipalities, targeting local projects like heating networks and schools. €100 billion for the Climate and Transformation Fund, KTF, supporting energy-efficient buildings, electric mobility, hydrogen, and renewable energy to meet Germany's 2045 climate neutrality goal. €300 billion for federal projects in transport, energy, digitalization, and healthcare, with specifics to be determined by future legislation. But here's the catch: the government can't foot the bill alone. Economy Minister Katharina Reiche, a key architect of the plan, told CNBC in May 2025, "We need speed and investments, and we need private capital. Of all the investments we will do, 10% could be done with public money. We need 90% from private sector investments." This reliance on private funds is central to the strategy, with Berlin promising to cut red tape and offer incentives to attract investors. Germany's call for private investment has sparked global interest. Stefan Wintels, CEO of KfW, Germany's state-owned development bank, reported enthusiasm from investors in New York, London, and Zurich. "People want to invest in Germany," he said at the Tegernsee Summit in May 2025. Robin Winkler, chief German economist at Deutsche Bank, agreed, noting a notable pickup in investor interest driven by the fund and regulatory reforms. Why the hype? Germany's infrastructure crisis is also an opportunity. The €500 billion fund, equivalent to 1% of GDP annually, signals long-term commitment. Combined with plans to streamline bureaucratic hurdles, historically a major obstacle for projects like the €11 billion Stuttgart 21 railway station, Germany is becoming an attractive destination. Greg Fusesi, a JP Morgan economist, told CNBC there are certainly large opportunities coming in defense and infrastructure, highlighting the fund's potential to boost Germany's stagnant economy, with growth forecasts reaching 2.1% in 2025. The fund's climate focus also aligns with global trends. The €100 billion allocated to the KTF will support wind, solar, hydrogen, and grid upgrades, appealing to investors eyeing green technologies. For example, the European Investment Bank EIB is already financing projects like Innoratek's €70 million e-fuel plant in Frankfurt, set to be Europe's largest in 2025. Despite the optimism, hurdles remain. Jens Thiele, head of project finance at Hamburg Commercial Bank, warned CNBC that approval processes could delay projects reaching the ready-to-business stage. It will be interesting to see whether there's enough capacity to develop all these projects within such a compressed timeframe, he said. Fusesi echoed this, noting that investors have asked questions about the speed of delivery. Germany's infrastructure is broadly defined, covering bridges, rails, grids, and schools, so bottlenecks in one area, like skilled labor shortages, could shift focus to others. The Federation of German Industries estimates a dramatic shortage of workers, particularly in education and construction. Political will is another wild card. While the fund passed with bipartisan support, its implementation depends on future governments and parliaments approving specific allocations. The German Taxpayers Association warned against turning the fund into a self-service shop for wasteful projects, urging rigorous oversight. Deutsche Bahn's €148 billion request alone could consume nearly a third of the fund, raising questions about prioritization. Regulatory reform is also critical. Winkler highlighted that excessive bureaucratic hurdles have long delayed projects. The coalition's promise to simplify planning, potentially reforming EU Solvency II rules to lower equity requirements for infrastructure investments, could unlock more capital, but success hinges on execution. Germany's infrastructure push is more than a repair job. It's a bid to reclaim leadership in Europe. SPD's Klingbeil called it a historic compromise that could signal a positive new beginning for Germany and the EU. Transport Minister Volker Wissing emphasized the need for €220 billion by 2029 to ensure better and connected mobility, including military-ready transport routes. The Carola Bridge collapse was a warning, but also a catalyst. With €500 billion on the table and private investors circling, Germany has a chance to rebuild its bridges, literally and figuratively. Success depends on speed, clarity, and political resolve. As Fusesi put it, this will come down to political will. If Germany delivers, it could spark an economic renaissance. If not, the cracks in its infrastructure may deepen. What do you think? Will Germany's gamble pay off, or is it too big a bet? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe for more fascinating stories, and share your thoughts in the comments below. You can also support us on Patreon, link below.